Hello, welcome to Surviving the Narcissist. I'm Wanda, and welcome back. Surviving the Narcissist looks at narcissistic behavior and how that behavior impacts others from a personal, professional, and spiritual perspective. I am a narcissistic abuse survivor. I started off as a victim. I went through a process, and that process took me to being a survivor, then a thriver, and an overcomer. And that's why I want to help you with this channel. And professionally is because in addition to being a social worker and counselor, I am a life coach, and my niche is narcissistic abuse, trauma, and addiction. And spiritual because we're all made up of three parts: mind, body, and spirit. And being in an environment where you're either being raised by a narcissist or you've had contact with a narcissist, it affects all three areas of your life. So this episode is going to focus on one of the ways of surviving a narcissist, or one of the techniques. And that technique is referred to as gray rock. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, if you've seen professional landscaping exhibits, or when you go in an office or just on the streets in general, if you see gray rocks, gravel is mostly gray rocks. They look boring. And they're understated. They don't attract attention to themselves. So people kind of ignore them. Or they just say, oh, that's just gravel or pebbles or gray rocks. Well, in landscaping, you might have gray rocks mixed in with the color rocks. Well, the color rocks tend to stand out, but the gray rocks don't. And that is the explanation, or how this technique got called gray rock. So gray rock is, we already have talked about some of the signs and symptoms and behavior of people that have narcissistic abuse personality traits. Because the reason why I say that is because by narcissists being very manipulative people, there's a lot of discussion about, well, how many people are really narcissists? Well, that's a form of gaslighting, or what narcissists do, because they try to minimize behaviors, in my opinion. Because we all know that everybody doesn't have access to mental health professionals. So narcissistic personality disorder is diagnosed by a clinician, whether it's a licensed social worker, a psychiatrist, or a psychologist. And that is a specific diagnosis that not a lot of people have. But because narcissism, and in my case, and a lot of other people's cases, you were raised in that type of environment or in that type of family, it's learned behavior. So although nobody in my family or your family or whoever might not have that specific diagnosis, they exhibited all of the behaviors. So for the purpose of this channel, I'm a MSW, which I don't diagnose people as narcissists. Mine is mostly from a personal, professional, I coach them, and a spiritual perspective, because I know what being in that environment did to me. So when we look at the behaviors, going back to gray rocking, or using the technique of gray rocking, is narcissists are control freaks. They're pathological liars, and they do not respect anybody's boundaries. It's all about me, my. It's all about them. So gray rocking is a technique to use so that you can survive. Because being around narcissistic behavior is mental abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse. So that's the trauma piece. Then people handle trauma different ways. Fight or flight, they call it. Well, if you're a fighter, how you tried to survive being in a narcissistic environment might have been through being rebellious, fighting physically, fighting verbally. Or you might have turned it on yourself internally, and that's why I do the addiction piece. Because there's numerous or various types of addiction. So most people just focus on the chemical addictions, which is drugs and alcohol. Well, because I'm a narcissistic abuse survivor, I just don't focus on drugs and alcohol. Religion. Because you can't, even though we know that we're supposed to have a relationship, or the relationship is not based on a power greater than myself or a higher power, it's a form of escapism. Food, gambling, sex, TV, video games. Anything can become an addiction because you're doing that to survive being in close contact to a narcissist. So just to go over briefly with gray rocking, and I'm going to refer to my notes because I do things from not just my own personal experience, but from a professional. But I'll add on what I tend to do. So there's different types of ways that you can gray rock. When interacting with a toxic or manipulative person, which is definitely a person that has narcissistic traits. Avoid eye contact. Because a lot of times they want to make sure that you're fearful or you're intimidated. So if you look at them, they will stare you straight down, or they say they'll grit on you. And they'll grit on you, and they have an attitude, and they know how to use their face to talk to you. And to get you to do what they want you to do. Not reacting. Now, this is a gray rock technique that I tend to use a lot. But instead of calling it not reacting, I play dumb. Because they play dumb to get over on me, or to gaslight or control, or they're using flying monkeys or spies, and they think I don't know. So, like I say, well, you play dumb to get over on me. That's your, how you manipulate, more passive aggressive. And I play dumb to keep you from getting over. So I use non-reacting. And then another technique is boring or non-stimulating responses. So sometimes I use that because I'll say really? Wow. Okay. I'll say, I'll use boring stimulating responses because narcissists get pleasure, especially the overt, the malignant narcissists. They get pleasure out of seeing you react. Narcissistic supply. They get happy. They know that they're lying. They love drama. So when they see you react, they might tell you something that makes you cry. They're very sick people. They get happy. They're looking for narcissistic supply. So when you utilize the gray rock technique, you're taking away that narcissistic supply. Because eventually they'll stop contacting you because it's like, well, she acted like she didn't care. Well, it's not that, you don't care. I don't want to play your games. I have a life. I have better things to do. Plus 9 times out of 10 it's a lie. Because, you know, if there's nothing going on, they are looking for a response. And then they might turn your response and they'll turn it into another lie. And then a lot of times my experience is they have a lot of flying monkeys who are the other family members that they kind of go along to get along because they don't know how to get out or they don't know about gray rock. Because not all flying monkeys are narcissists. Some of them are the victims of the narcissists and they're stuck and they don't know how to get out or how to do things differently. Well, one will call you today. A couple of days later, another one will call you. A couple of days later, another one will call you. But because one of my gray rock techniques is to play dumb, I talk to them like I don't know. Well, wait a minute. You all have got together and plotted and planned to call me with something that I'm not trying to deal with. So another thing is not getting emotional and leaving the room. And nodding your head like, oh yeah, I see. So these are just some of the gray rock techniques to use. If you have any other gray rock techniques or any other ideas, please leave me a comment below. And remember to like and share this video. And until next time, survive the narcissist and be blessed.